So welcome EDU 540 students, writers, thinkers, and just generally successful communicators and self-expressors. This has been a great course. I've enjoyed it tremendously. I've learned a lot. And what I'd like to do this morning is just share a little bit of what I've been learning and observing when it comes to teaching writing. So we're going to do that in a moment. Couple of things to keep in mind. Next week, we're going to be in conferences on Monday and Thursday. So make sure to create those Google folders in which you're going to pop your artifacts. I'm going to drop in some artifacts as well. Have at least 7 artifacts and include 2 of your practice journal assignments that you haven't yet submitted into the artifacts section so that we can take a look at those together and use your rubrics to develop some thinking about how well you've done, how you've grown, and what writing and teaching writing can mean for you based on some of the different things that you've created this semester. So we're going to be doing that next week. So make sure to share those Google folders with me. I'll drop in some artifacts as well, and we can go from there. Although the artifacts that I drop in don't necessarily have to be part of that 7 that you're going to be selecting and creating and dropping in so that we can read and talk about those together. Do that this week so that I have an opportunity prior to the conferences to taking a look at what you've been able to develop for this semester and what you'd like to share. So that's one piece. Second thing is at the bottom of this week, week 14, I've included that folder again that gives you some templates and some ideas about memorandum writing. That's going to be your program analysis assignment. That's going to be due on the 18th, I think. So next week also on Thursday. So please be sure to take a look at that. And if you haven't yet begun to design your program analysis, think about different curricula, different programs, different ways, things that are available for you to be able to teach writing in a more structured and rigorous way. It may be something that you're using in your school, or it may be a particular program or curriculum that you're familiar with. You're going to advocate for that to your Board of Education as something that needs to be considered for purchase, and you're developing a professional development model and a professional development protocol that will help your teachers engage with that writing program and be able to learn how to teach writing through that particular program. So be thinking about that and definitely be creating that. If you do have any questions about that, please let me know. And I've already had some people ask questions, and I've tried to reach out and be able to help. So by all means, let me know if you do have questions, or if you'd like to send me some examples of some of the things that you've done, and I can write you back and comment on at least what my thinking is based on what you provide. So I'd like to finish up our course in this final video by looking at teaching writing, and it's a kind of a brief overview, but what I've tried to do is collect some of the ideas that I've observed and some of the things that we've been involved in the course over this semester to be able to maybe give you some more ideas about teaching writing and some of the things that you might do and keep in mind as you are teaching writing to your students as a literacy specialist. So one of the first things that I'd say, and we've really talked about this a little bit in the class, is that in order to teach writing, you need to write. So you need to practice. You need to develop a very strong sense of your own voice, your own set of expectations when it comes to writing, what sorts of things are important. And my suggestion is that you keep a journal on a regular basis, because that really can strengthen your voice, give you a sense of confidence, certainly help you with your thinking, and it can also help you with your emotions in different ways. Being a teacher requires being a reflective practitioner. So keeping a journal like a practice journal, a daily journal, or just a personal journal, I think can improve your writing and therefore your teaching of writing. Use different models. So show students what works and what doesn't work. Show students what's good and what needs improvement, so that your students can begin to measure what your expectations are of good writing, and be able to use those models to design and develop their own writing in the process. Be transparent, so all of your rubrics, all of your scales, everything that you've designed to assess writing, share with students on a regular basis. So again, they can get a sense of your expectations and also some sense of how they might be able to improve their writing. Be clear on different genres. One thing I noticed as I was going through some of the artifacts is, for example, that exposition, many of your expositions had some personal reflections and some emotions tied to them. Expository writing is informational writing, and it's based on facts. So it carries very little emotion and very little of that sort of personal reflection. So be sure as you go through the genres and think about your genres and teach the genres that you're clear on what they are, what they can do, and how to go about introducing those genres to your students to try out. Also, in terms of teaching writing, I'm really impressed. I was really impressed during the course with your stories and how much stories mean when it comes to writing, having conversations, communicating with one another, and engaging in self-expression. So one thing I really want to encourage you to continue to do, which all of you have been doing, is to tell your stories and write your stories. So encourage your students to engage with one another on the stories that they know, and likewise provide your stories to students. That obviously builds in a sense of trust and authenticity, but it also gives students a structure and gives students a sense of what stories sound like and how they can be written. So make sure to engage with stories on a regular basis. Play with language. So try different constructions. For example, write a piece as a draft or as a free write, and then start the next draft in the middle of the draft that you've just written. So just toss out the first half and start again, so that you're playing with language, you're playing with structure, you're looking at different approaches and encouraging your students to think about writing in different ways. I think the writing workshop process works well. I think getting students engaged with one another, some sort of peer review and some sort of conference structure that many of you have put in place already for the writing that you're doing in your classrooms can be really valuable. So this process piece is a nice balance to the product piece that goes along with your expectations and the rubrics and the publication that your students are going to be engaged in. And finally, read. This is part of this is an effort to find good mentor texts that you may be able to share with your students as models of good writing in different genres. But ultimately, read a lot, read different things, read different styles, read expository writing in the form of even biographies or histories and those sorts of things. Read what you're interested in, but read on a regular basis, because that flow, that understanding the kind of coherence of what you're reading, and using those as examples can also help with your teaching writing. So I didn't want to take too much time this morning. I hope I haven't taken up too much time. But I did want to say, ultimately, thank you very much for a really wonderful semester. I have enjoyed your growth. As I think I might have mentioned last week or somewhere down the line, this was a very scary course for me to teach, because when I started out, I had very little idea of how any of the kinds of activities and ways of engaging with writing and teaching writing would work out in the long run. And I've been very pleased with your thinking, with your risk taking, with the kinds of things you've shared with one another and with me. You're all excellent writers, and you're all excellent teachers of writing. So I hope as you go forward, you'll keep in mind some of the things you learned in this course, and you continue to really focus your students on the value and the rewards of writing well, and using writing as a means of self-expression of life and a means of growing and becoming better people. All righty. So I'm going to let you go. Thanks very much. Thanks for hanging in there with me. And I look forward to seeing you in conferences next week individually. Take care. Have a good week and see you later.